Good evening, and thank you for participating on our remote, regularly monthly meeting of the Parks Advisory Board. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation and ask that everyone be patient as we navigate this electronic platform. We have two formats for participation, the Zoom web application as well as teleconference. Before we begin, I want to review some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices, such as your cell phone or desk phone. This will ensure that we are not hearing any feedback or causing interruption during the meeting. During the meeting, all participants on Zoom, except for board members and county staff, will be placed on mute by the host. That means that you will not be able to mute or unmute your lines manually. The chair will announce opportunities for public comment, which are included in the meeting agenda. Those are limited to 3 minutes, please. For those on Zoom, if you would like to make public comment, please click the raise hand feature to signal that you would like to comment. The sound will be unmuted and the internet participant should announce their first and last name before speaking. The participant will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. For those calling in using the phone line only, if you would like to make public comment, please dial 9 on your keypad to signal that you would like to comment. The last 4 digits of the call-in number will be announced, and call-in participants should announce their first and last name before speaking. The participant will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. Please note, you can hang up or leave the Zoom meeting at any time. So, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And first thing is welcome and introductions. So first and foremost, board members, please introduce yourselves. I'm going last.
Dawn Doctor, District 2 in the South.
Linda Berry Mare, North.
Lisa Hurt, North.
Amy Lawrence, Central Kitsap.
And that would leave me, Larry Walker, South Kitsap, current and outgoing chair. Okay, now any staff members present? Alex?
Hey, Larry. My name's Alex Wisniewski, Parks Director for Kitsap County, and I'll hand it off to Carmen.
Carmen Smith, Parks Planner. I'll hand it to Alex.
I'm Alex Hardy, the Marketing and Event Supervisor for the Parks Department, and Irene.
I'm Irene Weber, the Natural Resource Program Supervisor. That leaves Chuck.
Chuck Guzzetto here, Marketing Communications. Happy to be here with Kitsap County Parks.
Well, thank you very much. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the July 16th minutes. So do we have any discussion on that? Any amendments to be made, or barring that, a motion to accept the minutes as written?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of June 16th as written.
Thank you, Linda.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Dawn. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, opposed? No opposition. We have minutes. Thank you. Okay, public comment. Our time, remember, it's a 3-minute time limit. So, Dee, do we have anybody who is waiting to make public comment?
We do not have any hands raised for public comment.
Okay. All righty, special presentations and reports. Draft CIP 2026 through 2031. Carmen, you're in the hot seat.
All right. Before I start, Alex, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I just wanted to recognize, Larry, that we had received about 10 different emails that came in. Only one of them asked to be read during public comment, but the others were directed to the Parks Advisory Board. Those, whether it'd probably be good to read the one that indicated it wanted to be read, Since the others didn't call it out specifically, the board can choose whether they want to read those out loud or just receive them as board members. You can make the decision yourself. We don't really have a standard for that, so.
Well, they will be made part of the official record of the meeting, correct, Alex?
That's correct.
Okay, so if you would do me the honor, so I don't have to search through my computer and read us the one that was requested public reading.
Well, now you're putting me on the spot. Yeah, let me find it. Let me find it real quick. I got it nearby.
Dawn, did you want to?
I just wanted to say that it should probably be in the record that we received them as Park Advisory Board members. I received them in the email you sent out, and then Dee sent out another email. So we have seen the comments.
Okay. I found the one that at the top says, please read during public comment on Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. The email reads, I'm Naisha Feliciano, Port Orchard resident and parent. I suppose any plan to thin Banner Forest. Banner is where my child learned to love mushrooms, where my family runs, and where we go to unwind. Banner's value is in its soils and understory. Heavy equipment will compact soils, increase sediment and runoff, raise trail and drainage costs, remove critical shade, and fragment habitat. Forest structure takes decades to recover. On a child's timeline, that's permanent. Banner is close, free, and practical, supporting mental health, outdoor education, low-cost recreation, and responsible foraging. Those are recurring community benefits. Logging is a one-time check. The repair bill and ecological damage linger. My asks: number one, remove Banner from the 2026-2028 thinning schedule. Number two, publish Banner-specific soils, hydrology, and trail impact analysis that supposedly justifies 3 miles of roadwork and heavy machinery in a heritage park, and take public comment on it. Number three, if this isn't about profit, explain why the plan includes an expected $691,000 net from Banner. What guardrails prevents revenue needs from steering ecological cuts? Number four, commit to no new roads and no heavy equipment in high-use corridors. Banner is a living asset we can't replace. Don't gamble half the park on an experiment our kids will pay for. That's all it says.
So I'm on my phone and I can't seem to raise my hand, but I did want to request at some point during the meeting if we can get a bit of a summary on Banner Forest. You specifically, people mentioned an 85% clear cut, and I'm sure that it's not an 85% clear cut. The revenue. Will we have a briefing on that in during the meeting? Okay, thank you.
Yep, it's the second presentation of the night.
Okay, thank you.
Also, you said there were 10. I only received 6. So
10 was, you should have received, there should have been 2 that were sent with the packet, the original email. And then there was 6. And then I sent out 1 about an hour ago. And so that's 9 total.
okay, I'm missing a couple, but I got hacked. So yeah, I'm just trying to get my.
I can resend to everybody, Lisa. No
Yeah,
problem.
that'd be great. The whole Yep. Would be good.
I'll package it all up and re-email it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Carmen.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so the purpose of the presentation this evening on the draft CIP is to share the draft CIP and highlight the projects we have planned for 2026, as well as just provide a little bit of information and backstory about how the draft was developed. So I will go ahead and start there. So just a quick overview. What is the CIP, the Capital Improvement Program? It's essentially a list of all the projects the department intends to work on, all the capital projects over the next 6 years. And it attaches funding and funding sources to those projects. This is drafted, created by staff on an annual basis, and then approved by the Board of County Commissioners, or the BOCC, annually. So BOCC is the approving body. In the past, the department has not had a process or any kind of tool to help evaluate or score or prioritize those capital projects in creating the capital improvement program. And so this year we embarked on an effort with the capital projects and parks PAB subcommittee to create that tool and create that process as a way to evaluate the laundry list of capital projects we have and help support and inform decision-making for which projects are advanced onto that 6-year CIP. So we shared the draft process, evaluation process, I believe in June with the full PAB, but here is a refresher on it. So it is a 3-phased process, starting with first, does this project align with what the department does? Does it align with department operations? So this was intended to be sort of a quick screen, yes or no to the questions on the left-hand side there. If the project answered yes to at least one of them, it got to move forward for further evaluation and consideration, which leads us into step 2 or phase 2, which is scoring. And that this is how projects got points based on 5 criteria. A couple of them were weighted to indicate importance of safety hazards and also prioritizing maintaining our current facilities and infrastructure ahead of adding new facilities. So phases 1 and 2, the scoring of those were done in July with a staff group. I think there were 9 or 10 staff members, but members from all 5 program areas in the department. We had a whole day workshop, went through the full laundry list of capital projects and tested the tool, put it to the test and saw how it worked, and ended up with a scored list of projects. And so in phase 3, which is balancing, which is what we've kind of been referring to as the human side of this, which looks at what other considerations or what other things should we think about. So this is not necessarily just a math problem where you take, the top X number of projects until funding or capacity runs out and work on those. And so we had another meeting with members of the sub-PAB, the PAB subcommittee, as well as a smaller group of staff, and looked at that. We were primarily focusing on commissioner districts, so location of projects, as well as project types, to help ensure a balanced distribution of projects across the 6-year CIP. We also looked at staff capacity, primarily internal, so just in Parks Department capacity to take on these projects. But the other side of that conversation is capacity of Public Works and the Capital Facilities Division, which is the new-ish division that is handling capital project management and delivery for parks, as well as other departments and groups across the county. And so we were able to get figures from Public Works, essentially a limit to limit ourselves to based on construction value of capital projects on an annual basis. And so with that number, we were able to, what we ended up having to do was really spread things out in order to make sure we were keeping within their threshold capacity. On that note, they did say this is just for next year. There's potential for that number, for them to increase their capacity as they get more efficient. They're a really new group. So as they figure out their workflow and get more efficient, as well as bring on support staff, they have a number of vacant positions that they're looking to hire, as well as if they want to leverage any consultants in the future to also help manage projects. So that capacity figure hopefully will increase in the future, but where we're at for next year. Lastly here, this is just a very simple timeline of a bit about where we are at in the process. So May, June was really building that evaluation process and tool that I talked about. July, August, putting it to the test, scoring projects. It's also, important to note here in the past, CIP development has done later has been done later in the year. This year we moved it up to align with draft budget submission, so it would help inform the department's draft budget submission, which was in August, as well as sharing the draft CIP with the Board of County Commissioners and with the PAB. So this is really intended to show we're still in draft form here. This won't be approved by the Board of County Commissioners until fall, until November. So there's room for adjustments with where we're at with this draft. We'll stop sharing the slides and then wanted to highlight the projects that we are focusing on for 2026 and share the draft CIP. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is, wait, is everyone seeing the Excel? Yeah, okay. So this is the draft CIP. This is the format that the CIP lives in. This is what it looks like. Before we get into it, something to note just based on the projects we're going to be talking about for 2026, with the vacancy in my position, the planning position, as well as in capital position, the department is about a planning cycle away from some of the larger projects like park development projects or things that require a lot more planning on the front end. And so what we've done with 2026, you'll see is really have tried to front load it with projects, smaller projects that are more construction ready or ready to go that wouldn't require as much of the planning effort on the front end. Yes, Lisa?
Can you increase the size of the font? I can't see it very well on my computer.
Yeah, I can try. Let me see.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I guess if we're just focused, is this better, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay. Great. So the format here is you've got the location of the park, a little bit of the description, project purpose, and then all the different phases. And so one thing that I also wanted to share is that that figure that I mentioned from Public Works, which is our capacity limit based on construction value, they did also give us other figures to help provide a better representation or estimate of project cost. And so that is in terms of project management, which you'll see here, design, engineering, and permits, as well as construction management. Those are all percentages based on construction value. So we added those soft costs in as well to have a better, more accurate budget. So for 2026, our first project is a project at multiple parks. This is something we added in to its accessible trail improvements, help make trails more accessible to all park users. This is something we heard about in pros plan engagement as a priority. If you're familiar with the wheelchair-friendly trail at Illahee Preserve Heritage Park, it's a good example of something like this where the intent here is maybe we do one park project a year, but we wanted to put it in here as an annual basis with the specific locations and scope to be determined, but put it in here as a placeholder and assigning capital dollars to those improvements. Second one is Gordon Park, which is replacing the synthetic turf at Gordon 1. It's past its lifespan. And this was a project that was scheduled for this year, but we decided to move it to early next year, given the number of other fields that were also being resurfaced. So didn't want to have several fields down at one time. So this one is aiming to be done early next year, as soon as weather allows. Also at Gordon Park is demolition of the house that's there. The area is targeted for future park development. The next three here are, if necessary, these are all carryovers from this year's CIP, all projects that had funding assigned for this year. So the Suquamish Sports Court and the Indianola Tennis Court, which are both court resurfacing and improvement projects, as well as a land acquisition at Illahee Preserve. These are all we hope these may still get done this year, but we put a placeholder in for next year in case some of these have to get pushed to next year as well. Yes. Lisa.
So are you highlighting like which numbers go to what you're talking about? Because I don't see Suquamish or anything listed there. So what number goes to what project?
Suquamish Sports Court right here is listed
there
as
it is,
number
over
4.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Horseshoe Lake has an old boat dock that is a remnant of when the department used to actually rent boats. So it's past its life and purpose, so demolition of that dock is included, as well as a couple of other demolitions. The house at Wynne Jones Preserve, the house and laundry building at Calvinwood, so at Coulter Creek Heritage Park. You can see here as number 9.
Carmen, I had a question on the Horseshoe Lake project.
Yeah, sure.
Is the long-term plan to replace that dock or just demolish it and not have it? Because I know planning and permitting wise, it's much easier if you're going to replace it to permit that before you demolish it.
I think at this point, the plan is to demolish the dock and not replace, but we do have park development as a larger park planning project at Horseshoe Lake, which is slated for later, which would involve community engagement and outreach about desired uses and facilities at the park. I think at this point, the plan is to demolish.
And the reason I'm wary of that is that if there's any, even a 50-50 chance of wanting to replace that dock, if you demolish it prior to applying for the permit, you're going to have a very difficult time ever permitting a dock. So I guess I'm just encouraging you to, I don't know if it's imperative that it be demolished next year, but I wouldn't want to demolish it, do the planning process, and then have to have a very expensive permitting process.
Sure.
Good information. We'll look into it. Hadn't considered the permitting. We wouldn't permit another boat dock because we don't do boat rentals anymore. But we have discussed the potential for a fishing pier at the lake, like we have at some of our other lake parks. But it also would not be located in the exact same spot because you wouldn't want fishing right next to the beach, the swimming beach area, which is where this one's located. So, but that's, yeah, I wonder if we relocate it, if doing the permitting like you're talking about ahead of time would be helpful. So we'll look into that.
Yeah, I'd suggest you just consult with somebody over at DCD and check on those questions. All right,
sure.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Linda. Yeah, that's helpful. Okay, next project here, number 10, over at Gorst, demolition of an old storage building, not serving a purpose for the department. Moving on, Silverdale Waterfront Park and Island Lake. So the large picnic shelter at Silverdale Waterfront Park and then the community building at Island Lake. These would both be roof replacements. Roofs are past their lifespan and in need of replacement. Village Greens Golf Course, the clubhouse, is another roof replacement project. I believe that roof is leaking actually and in need of replacing. Okay. 13 and 14, a couple of restroom projects. Illahee Preserve Heritage Park and North Kitsap Heritage Park. These would be installing the RomTech restrooms that the department already owns. They've owned since 2016 or 2017. I don't remember exactly. In the parking lots of these parks. So these are restrooms that we already own. They're overdue for installation, and both of these parks already have parking lots that could accommodate these restrooms and improve user experience for those folks visiting. Okay. All right, moving on to some more environmental assessments and planning type projects, opposed to those were more construction projects. So Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park has money allocated for environmental assessments, as well as reviewing the Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park framework for an update.
I have a
Forest.
quick question on that. Has the wildlife study already, I know it was out for, I believe it was out for bid. Has that been, has the contractor been selected, and is that underway?
Yes, I'll see Irene unmuted, so I'll let her speak to that.
Yes, the contract has been, the contractor has been selected. The commissioners have signed the agreement, and we've had a preliminary kickoff meeting with the contractor, but it's still in very early days.
And how long are they, do they have to complete that work?
The contract is for several parks, and it lasts over 2 years, and we're still figuring out exact, timing of phasing.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
And so, yeah, the next two projects under Port Gamble are Eglon and Coulter Creek, which is with the same contractor doing environmental assessments at both of those parks as well. Okay, moving on. Silverdale Waterfront Park, head wall repair or replacement on here in the, so now we are past the construction phase, and these are projects that are in the design or engineering or permitting stage. So that head wall repair or replacement, as well as at South Kitsap Regional Park, converting some of the grass fields to synthetic turf athletic fields. This is definitely a priority where we heard about in our pros plan engagement and beyond. And so, yeah, pulled these the fields out of the larger park development project to get started on earlier. Indianola Woodlands has a small bridge that crosses a creek as you get to the beach that is in need of replacement. So that is another one that's on here to start design and engineering, as well as the dock replacement that is out at Salisbury Point Park. The dock, excuse me, is at its end of life and it is in need of replacement. Gordon Park has money allocated for planning, which would be bringing in a contractor, bringing in a consultant to start embarking on the master plan process for the park. So that one is very exciting. And then it has design, engineering, and construction and years beyond, but 2026 would be focused on the community engagement and creating the master plan for the park. A couple of other projects that are at the bottom. Sorry for the scroll that I wanted to also draw attention to is Cola Cole Park, which is a small park in downtown Kingston, basically is on here. Not so much for a project, but it's to start some community engagement with the community around how do they currently use the park? What do they want to see in the park? Is there a way that it could better serve the community needs? So we've got not capital dollars associated for this, but more of a planning program area work item to do some community engagement with the Kingston community around the future of Cola Cole. And then another TBD project that is on here is athletic field development or acquisition for athletic field development, specifically in the North District. And this was added on as a request from Commissioner Rolfes, the Commissioner for District 1. So that is really the rundown of what we're going to be focusing on for capital projects in 2026. If you have thoughts, questions, concerns, yeah. Lisa, did you have? Yeah.
Yeah, I was called by a constituent today and he asked, he said, that KPTS, wants to know if it's possible to transfer the Nike Park. I don't see it anywhere in the CIP, but the Nike Park to the North Kitsap School District, so it'd be one less thing to maintain for them. I guess they don't have the time, and I guess they've been asking for years to see if you could do that. I don't know if this is the right time to bring it up, but thought it was appropriate. So yeah, they were just wondering if there's any way to transfer the Nike Park to the school district in a like-kind exchange of sorts.
Yeah, it's a good question, comment from, I know who it's from in the North End, but yeah, there has been a ongoing conversation that far outlasts my time with Kitsap County between the county and North Kitsap School District about a land swap, because half of the high school football stadium is built on Kitsap County Parks property. And there is a use agreement in place for that. It's a 90, if I remember correctly, it's a 99-year agreement between Kitsap County and North Kitsap School District that outlines who's responsible for what, indicating that we all agree to have this this athletic facility on the park there. The ultimate goal is to do a land swap of some sort with North Kitsap School District to give them the underlying land underneath the football stadium. And in return, the Parks Department or Kitsap County at large would get a possibly a parcel of open space adjacent to Carpenter Creek, kind of in the same area there. That has, I think, gone through ups and downs in terms of movement, and then it kind of stalls, and then there's movement again. And the last time that I had a conversation about that was with Commissioner Gelder a number of years ago, and the former school district superintendent, who's also no longer with the school. So that is on a real estate needs list of things that the Parks Department has markers on that need to be amended or adjusted or dealt with. We just don't have the capacity to move it right now. They've actually sent an email today pushing for real estate services because we really need help. This isn't the only piece of property that we're looking to do either a land swap, or we have easement issues with other entities. In some places we have encroachments on the parks by neighbors, and we've got to deal with that. And there are other, property related tasks that the county has that we could the county at large could benefit from having a real estate specialist of some sort or somebody under contract. Until that happens, it's really hard for us to move some of these forward. We just don't have the expertise, but we are trying to get some help with it.
In the maintenance part, so does KPTS still do the work there, or how's that going to be done? I guess they just don't have the manpower.
Yeah, we'll have to reach out to KPTOS and find out what their capacity is. I know that they worked on the trail, and I believe the trail crosses the Nike site and then heads down to the boardwalk overlook at Carpenter Lake. So if it's that, what he's referencing, we'll have to find a different way. So.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. I'll follow up on that.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Question to follow up on Lisa's. I also received a call from, I'm sure, the same person, but it is, I'm wondering if there might be an interim way of allowing the school district to go through with some improvements. My understanding is they were hoping to do some construction on the land that the county still owns. And if that would add value to the county's property, I wonder if it might be easier to get an interim solution so that they could make those improvements while we work on the land swap. idea, which I expect would take more time.
Yeah, the land swap will take a minute to get done. I've already had conversations with North Kitsap School District about the proposed work that they're doing there. Their impact on Parks property is extremely minimal. There's just a short section of fence that goes on ours. The rest of the construction is all on school district property. We've already given them permission to move forward with that because the agreement that we have in place already allows for that activity to happen. So we are not, this is not impeding any construction that I'm aware of or have been contacted about.
And I have another question, if I could. And I can't tell if I can't see the hands raised. Back to the Port Gamble project and the wildlife study. And so, it's new information to me that that's been grouped with other projects, other studies for other parks. But it does seem, that wildlife study was promised by the commissioner, kind of pledged as kind of with some of this appeals, and also there have been so many delays on moving forward with the parks framework that it's my understanding that that framework cannot advance until the wildlife study is done. So it seems like that wildlife study should be prioritized so that this other study can proceed, since it's been so many years in the works.
That's accurate. The advancement of the framework there will be some edits made to that premised on the results of the wildlife study. The wildlife study is beginning this year. It's the first of multiple projects that we have contracted for. So it's moving forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Carmen, do you want to wrap up?
Oh,
or are there any other
sure.
questions?
Yeah, I saw Larry. Yeah, it looked like you were.
Yeah, I muted myself. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't read the lips with the mustache in the way. I was just asking if you're done and ready to sum up.
Oh, yes. Yeah. If there are no other questions, yeah, I was just, yep.
Well, thank you very much,
Okay.
Carmen.
I'll stop sharing.
Okay. So next special presentation, forest stewardship and restoration policy and implementation of planned public engagement. That says Irene. So
All right.
Irene, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. So if you remember last month, we went into gory detail of the implementation plan and everything that was within that. We talked about that we were doing public engagement about our policy and implementation plan that we would be doing in late July. So what I'm going to be presenting to you today is kind of a summary of the results from that public engagement. And we also shared this out with are we looking at the right screen here?
Well, I'm looking at forest stewardship and restoration updates.
Perfect.
Yeah,
We also shared this with the Board of County Commissioners this morning during our briefing. So just as a summary of what we've talked about since November of last year with this group is our forest stewardship and restoration policy, as well as our implementation plan. The policy is a document that describes why stewardship and restoration activities are needed in Kitsap County Park forests and how they will be accomplished. It outlines the purpose and need, goals and objectives, and high-level guidance for the program based on the scientific literature and accepted best practices. It also acknowledges the self-funding structure of the program as it was originally conceived. Our policy is in alignment with many other agencies and land management conservation groups who are doing conservation land management within the region and further abroad. Our policy was reviewed by a number of local and regional experts in conservation science and land management. And these names are included in the policy. And then our Forest Stewardship and Restoration Implementation Plan is the second document that we were rolling out. As a technical document that provides a high-level park system-wide plan to implement the updated Forest Stewardship and Restoration policy over the next 10 years. It includes projected restoration actions needed in the focus parks to help guide our work planning, identify needed assessments, monitoring, planning, permitting, and implementation, additional work that needs to happen prior to any project implementation, as well as an analysis of the past financial performance and future sustainability of the program. These two documents are the very top of our planning process. These are high-level plans that are at the 10,000, 30,000 foot view that use high-level data to look at with a broad brush what needs to happen across our entire park system. There are subsequent plans that will occur prior to any project implementation, including a park plan, which is tailored to the conditions of each park. And after that, specific project plans that detail exactly when and where and how projects will occur. So these two documents that we've been rolling out are these top level documents. The forthcoming plans that the implementation plan helps guide when and where we need to do these planning efforts are the park plans and project plans. Park plans provide more detailed assessments of data. They have considerations for specific park needs. We also do assessments of competing needs, including social desires, wildlife conflicts, wetland conflicts, et cetera, to make sure that any actions that we are undertaking take into consideration the broad spectrum of the ecosystem as well as park use. There will also be more and extensive input from the public and stakeholders during the park planning phases. After we have a park plan in place, we look at project plans. These are where we perform our most detailed ecological assessments, where we would pursue permits, where we would define exact prescription guidelines for what exactly is going to happen where, with what equipment, et cetera. This is also where we have additional consultation with DNR, WDFW, tribes, and other stakeholder groups. So those are the documents. And so now I'm going to move into a review of what our engagement has looked like as a rollout of the policy and plan documents. Here at the Parks Advisory Board, we have been presenting to this group and have reviewed by the subcommittee over a number of different meetings. The policy was reviewed on November 13th and 19th of 2024 by our subcommittee members. The policy was presented to the Parks Advisory Board at the November 20th Public Parks Advisory Board meeting. The implementation plan was reviewed on June 25th of 2025 by our sub-PAB committee members. And the plan was presented to the Parks Advisory Board during the July 16th Public Advisory Board meeting. Feedback and concerns from the Park Advisory Board members were incorporated into the documents. The Parks Advisory Board expressed concern over the funding structure when we were looking at the policy, and that information had been passed on to the Board of County Commissioners as a letter from the board. Progress and updates on both of these documents have been provided to the Board of County Commissioners throughout this process. Updates on document process have been provided during our regular parks updates since 2024. Those are all publicly available online. The commissioners were individually briefed on both the policy and the plan in April of 2025. The public engagement plan was provided to the Board of County Commissioners in May of 2025 during the parks update. And the commissioners were also involved in public meetings and site visits in July. So in July, we had a series of public meetings. Park staff hosted 6 meetings to provide information about the update to the Forest Stewardship and Restoration Policy and the 10-year implementation plan, as well as about the program overall. 3 of these were open house style presentation where we provided information and then had interaction stations where we're able to have more one-on-one and nuanced conversations with community members. We also had 3 site visits at a number of our parks where we were able to take people out into the woods and talk about the proposed work in the program. We also advertised and hosted a feedback form to solicit input from the community regarding these documents and the program itself. This is included in your packet, so no need to look at this too closely, but this is the dates and the locations of each of our public meetings, the approximate attendance of members of our community, as well as the staff who are in attendance at each of those meetings. So at the public meetings, the majority of our interactions were positive. Community members expressed a lot of support for the past work of this program, which has been ongoing since 2012. As well as the future directions of the program as laid out in the policy and program implementation plan. Community concerns were also expressed, and staff was able to effectively hold conversations about the ecological need for this work, financial realities of the program, as well as future planning efforts. Districts 1 and 3 had an overall sentiment of community support for the program and positive feedback on both the policy and the plan. In District 2, there was a very vocal sentiment of opposition to any restoration in Banner Forest Heritage Park. This was the only park wherein a segment of the community disagreed with the data indicating that there is a need for restoration work. However, there were also voices of support for this work amongst the community. Our feedback form was hosted online. It was advertised at all of our public meetings, in our outreach, and as well as through social media, etc. It included a number of questions listing community feedback on parks of interest, how the community would like to be informed about upcoming projects and planning efforts, what types of projects they would like to be involved in, project phasing, and what additional information could be provided. There was also an opportunity to provide unstructured feedback and ask questions. One of our initial questions was, what parks are people most interested in? People were able to select multiple parks. As you can see, we had about 56 responses overall. 44 of those responses indicated an interest in Banner Forest, followed by Port Gamble and Newberry Hill as the parks with the most interest. Our second question was about preferred contact methods. How would people like to be contacted about upcoming public meetings, planning programs, upcoming projects, etc. The majority of respondents indicated that email notification via GovDelivery was their more preferred way of being contacted. We also asked about involvement. How would the community like to be involved in various aspects of the forest stewardship and restoration program? These were all pretty well distributed across the different types of ways that community can be involved in our program, including education and outreach efforts, assistance with habitat enhancement projects, assistance with invasive species removal, participation in community science events, and participation in outreach related to park forest planning. We also wanted to get some feedback from the community about project phasing. There are pros and cons to both of these, whether there's a park that has multiple different types of projects, maybe scattered across the park or over a large portion of the park. Would the community prefer to see all that work performed at once, which has its pros and cons, or smaller projects performed over a number of years, which has different pros and cons? The community pretty soundly responded that they prefer smaller projects performed over a number of years than rather large projects performed in a shorter period of time. In our general comments were left by 45 of 56 respondents. Based on the comments provided on this form, 75% of the responses were neutral or positive, 25% were negative. Comment themes. We saw a lot of comments around ecological assessments and protections. Many community members had questions about how impacts of wildlife, wetlands, native plants, and ecosystems in general will be assessed. They also had concerns about invasive species clashes post-treatment. These are all very valid concerns and are definitely on our radar and are part of the analysis and planning that happens at the park and project planning levels. So a lot of these concerns will be addressed during those planning phases. Another theme was program operations. Some community members, particularly those with concerns about Banner Forest Heritage Park, expressed that due to the funding structure of the program, they feel that staff are unable to be objective about the ecological need versus revenue that is sometimes generated from restoration projects. Some community members expressed a desire to see alternative thinning methods used, hand thinning or use of horses rather than equipment, and for there to be an everyday presence of park staff at the project site to oversee the work of the contractor. These types of methodologies are part of the analysis and planning that happens at the park and project planning phases as well. So in summary, there was, based on our public meetings and feedback form, overall support for the program goals and objectives and the success of the program since its inception 10 plus years ago. The negative sentiments were entirely centered around Banner Forest. And a lot of those sentiments were reflective of general distrust of county operations beyond the Parks Department. So we presented this to the Board of County Commissioners this morning, and we asked them for some direction or thoughts based on the feedback that we've received, the feedback that they've received directly. And this is the direction that we've been given by the BOCC this morning. The Board of Commissioners, DAS, and the Parks are looking into changing the funding structure of the Natural Resource Program per the Parks Advisory Board and community feedback. We're going to delay the approval of these documents until that funding structure question is resolved. Which will happen soon. These meetings are happening over the next several weeks, so this won't be a totally drawn out process in figuring out a different funding structure for our program. The BOCC has requested that more detailed explanation of the future planning processes, the park plans and the project plans be included in the implementation plan to help communicate to our community that there will be many more touch points with them prior to implementation of projects. The BOCC also requested that we loosen the timeline of the projects as it is currently laid out in the implementation plan, as they would like to have us operate a little bit differently moving forward. And then we will also include an analysis of the public feedback and implement in the implementation plan summary when we present it again for a vote by both the PAB and then a recommendation to the BOCC for next steps. So that is what we learned. I see a raised hand from Dawn.
Yeah, thank you, Irene. That was really good. I have a question on your first point on the slide that you're showing. So I am concerned because we're already potentially facing, was it 5 positions due to budget cuts? And I know we are all in support of getting your and Kevin's positions off of this natural resources related to
revenue fund.
the revenue fund there. But are we then potentially losing more, or are the commissioners committed to getting you off of that, but still helping us because I don't want to lose multiple. Alex is shaking his head, so he knows exactly where I'm going with this question. Yep. So can you address that and those concerns?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me first repeat what I think you're saying is that are we going to be faced with absorbing Kevin and Irene's position into the general fund underneath the umbrella of the base budget we've already been given, which would force us to lose additional positions in order to absorb those costs? Or are we going to be given the opportunity to absorb Kevin and Irene into the general fund without impacting or increasing our budget cut requirement. At this point, the answer is unknown, but I am optimistic given that the commissioners seem committed to moving this or making this transition so that we can create a separation between the need for ecological restoration and the funding part of it. If we can separate those two, and this is a way to do that, then we can do all sorts of things. It really changes how we function, and will be a benefit to the program. But this literally just came up this morning, so we certainly have more conversations to have before we know, what it means for our 2026 budget. So more to come on this. This is a big part of the reason why I don't have a budget presentation for you today that I had hoped. My original plan for August was to do a budget presentation paired with the CIP, because the CIP informs the budget. But there's still some unknowns in the budget, basically in our budget cut part of it, because of some of the things that we've been working on for quite a while now. And the part of it does relate to this future funding structure for the forestry program. So until we kind of have that nailed down, I don't really know what the impact is going to be on our 2026 budget.
Could you also elaborate what you mean by the request a looser timeline of projects?
Based on the response at Banner, there's been a lot of requests to the county commissioners to, remove Banner from the timeline. And so the commissioners have asked that we just, rather than trying to predict which park we're going to operate in first, that we just kind of remove the dates from those tables.
I'm just going to voice my objection with that, because I really believe that you and Kevin have done a really good job of putting this together from a science background, and you're trying to look at it in a very objective way and present this as your proposal going forward. And what you have written doesn't have anything to do with particular parks or park project implementation. And you've made it very clear that that is down the road, and that this is the big picture of how we're going to move forward, what science we're using. You've been very clear. You're very much with the Society of Ecological Restoration. You've seek, advice and guidance from a variety of professionals. That's all there. And I can understand the pushing back Banner or totally eliminating it, but I still think going through the motion of, from Parks' perspective, of looking at it, looking what needs to be done, and making that recommendation should still be there. So I just wanted to voice my support in that I think the document looks good. I feel like you're doing your due diligence there and putting together a really good plan, and I'm sorry that it's gone this direction.
Thanks, Don. I think those of you who have been around for longer than I've been here at the Parks Department, I know, Larry, you can probably speak to this, is that Banner is always a touch point. There's a lot of community concern around Banner. And there's what we've been seeing online is there's a lot of misinformation that's out there as well. A lot of what we're doing is being misconstrued as a clear cut. A lot of the work surrounding Coulter and Port Gamble that's being pointed to as, look, they're going to do a clear cut, is work that has not actually been done by the Parks Department, but by commercial timber companies, because our boundaries are sometimes, hard to see from someone who's not looking at the exact parcel layer on GIS every day like I am. So, we're certainly doing a more concerted push to communicate what it is that we're doing, and trying to invite people to engage with us in good faith, because what we're doing is well documented, well backed by science, and very very common and proven successful, not only by our Parks Department but by a number of other groups as well. I see Linda and Amy's hand. I'm not sure who was first.
I think Amy.
Hi, I think I was first. Thanks. I just want to echo what Dawn said. And I really appreciate this thorough summary of kind of where things are right now and what was, kind of the feedback that we've heard and what the next steps are. And I agree with pushing back on, to the extent that we can, on the looser timeline. If you have a prioritization of the forest stands that are in need of greatest thinning for ecological purposes, it seems kind of silly to, loosen a timeline based on the misperceptions that you say are prevalent. And I did do some quick Googling and found a lot of what you were talking about. I just wanted to bring that up, Irene, that, people are using the word clear cut and log, and those are just not what's happening. So I guess my other question is, when people are talking about in the letters, things like 85% clear cut and all those things, those are based on the acreages that were presented in very general fashion in some of the materials that I think you've been presenting. So they're responding kind of like instinctively to that large number and not recognizing that it's, going to be a light touch in a lot of those places, if anything. So the details of the plan for that particular thinning activity would come in, that park specific plan, right? And there'd be lots of opportunities for feedback to the specifics.
Absolutely. And these numbers that are in the implementation plan, they're high level data. They're a broad brush. Almost always when we look at this and we go through the planning process, those numbers shrink as we look at the realities of the site. And based on the high level data, it looks like 100 acres, but we go out and we collect on the ground data, and then it's 75 acres, and then we look at areas in need of buffering, like wetlands and streams, or areas that aren't operable safely, and it gets even smaller and smaller and smaller. So really we are trying to operate in the areas of the greatest need, that have the least ecological impact on other parts of the forest. So yeah, it's one of those things that Kevin and I kind of erred on the side of putting it all out there and being very technical, and we didn't want to obscure anything in terms of timeline or the realities of the site. And specifically at Banner and in many of our parks, like these are former tree farms and timber operations, and they have been very damaged for the past 150 years. And so what we're trying to do is get them back on a trajectory where they can be self-sustaining and back on that native reference ecosystem trajectory that they have been departed from.
Yeah, well, thanks for everything you've done to put this all together. I think it looks good, and I support it.
Thanks. Linda?
Sorry, I was so I have a little bit of a different perspective. I was a bit
I have lost Linda.
Me too.
So that you could maybe post it online, maybe go out for one more meeting to Banner, but really combat some of the misinformation with actual information, that this isn't a clear cut, and give a little bit more concrete specifics in the small Eric Baker used to do this, and you know, there'd be a little inch paragraph on each topic, and maybe you've already done that, but it seems worth it to me to try and address some of the misinformation with actual information.
Yeah, Linda, we lost you for the first minute, but I think
Oh.
I think I'm getting what you're saying is that you would like to see us do more education and outreach surrounding the reality of this plan and what's being proposed.
Well, and I was specifically suggesting maybe one of those fact sheets that Eric Baker used to do, that, you know, just short paragraph on, you know, the concerns, 85% clear cut, and give the actual facts, and maybe go back one more time to the Banner Forest meeting. I mean, you had what, 50, 60 people show up. That's a lot of community concern that I just would encourage you to address in a factual way.
Yes, we've been working with our county communications department, Krista Carlson with the county, who has been helping us put together some outreach materials and communication materials that we can put out there. We're planning on doing a website overhaul that will provide a lot of information and links to our resources and our partners and other agencies and conservation groups who are doing similar work. So that is a plan. I know Commissioner Root has offered to do some town hall meetings that would be run out of his office with park support when necessary. A lot of issues came up in that Banner site visit that had that high attendance that were outside of the scope of this plan. So his town hall meetings are going to address a variety of topics, of which this will be one of many.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to point that out, Irene, but you just stole my thunder.
Sorry about that.
I'm not.
Don? Still muted, Don.
Initially, I agreed with what Linda said, you know, like maybe a year ago. But I've been watching what's been going on, and I was impressed that Parks did 3 different locations, north, south, and central. I personally went to all 3 of them because they were different presentations. Most of the people did not go to all 3, and I think that's really unfortunate because that gave a real idea of what you're trying to accomplish. The second thing that really concerned me is that most people had not read or even looked at the 2 documents, but they're a very small group of people, I think, are put into, I would go as far as say maybe intentionally putting out misinformation to fan the flames. For instance, one comment that has been I've read too, is that you're going to cut all the trees except 8 trees per acre. I stood there when Kevin was saying that at a minimum, we would love to see, based on our reference conditions, at least 8 trees of a certain size. So things, and using the term clear cut in exchange for the term thinning, and saying they're the same thing. I'm really heartened though, because I would say probably 50% of I mean, I don't take part in Facebook, but I follow it just to see what's going on. I am thrilled to see that I think probably 50% of the comments are coming back and refuting these claims that are clearly misinformation, and people going through line by line at times and saying, this is incorrect, this is incorrect, this is not true. You know, even such things as other entities that do thinning, you know, coming out and saying nobody else does this, whatever, but they're coming out and saying GPC does it, the Forest Services do it, and things like that. So I am heartened, and I believe that Parks is doing a good job of getting the information out and trying, and there's a fine line between how much time and energy do you put to combat a very small group of clear misinformation that I think the majority of the public are actually starting to see as clear misinformation. So,
Yeah, yeah, I think we all have the same goal of preserving the forests in Banner and making sure that this is a forest that our community can love and enjoy, and the wildlife and native plants thrive in for generations to come. Kevin likes to say that when he talks to Indigenous forest managers who we consult with a lot, they're thinking 7 generations ahead. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to undo 150 years of damage that has been done to this forest, and it will take us a while to get there. And I don't like to over anthropomorphize the forest, but there's got to be some surgery. There's got to be some corrective action taken, and there will be some healing that comes from that. But we try to make sure that the treatment is long-term effective, and that the negative side effects don't outweigh the long-term good. So that's really just an update for y'all on what happened based on the feedback that we got from the Board of County Commissioners today. There will be more to come. So we're not asking the Parks Advisory Board to take any action today. We just wanted to keep you in the loop about what's going on and what's happening moving forward.
Well, thank you very much, Irene. I enjoyed the presentation. It was very definitely an entertaining walk through Banner Forest a while ago.
That is a word for it, Larry.
You know me, I get my entertainment in very weird ways.
Well, it was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful forest, and it's just heartening to see how many people love the forest and want to be engaged in the process.
Oh, absolutely. And I do not think ill of the people who are so passionate against the proposals and everything, because, they have major league passion and everything. And we're not going to win all those battles and stuff. I did appreciate the commissioner stepping up to the plate and addressing some of the stuff, saying, hey, we need to move. We need to have more conversations, we need more engagement here. That was, that was great. So I'm kind of curious to see how this is all going to shake out as we move on down the road. So, all righty. Next thing up, wow. Director's report.
All right.
Alex.
Thanks, Larry. There's a whole bunch written in the director's report. There's really only 2 things I wanted to draw some attention to. Both of these are exciting. One is, and they're both capital projects that are on the move, I would say. The Point No Point Beach and Shoreline Repair Project contract is signed, and they will be mobilizing on August 25th and starting construction right after the holiday weekend. So we are very excited, obviously, to see that one move forward. It has been way too long, and we were the construction company they believe that they can get 100% of the project done before the end of the year. So we are looking to, knock on all things wood, be in a very positive position where we sit right now. Second thing is, it's been a little bit since you've heard from us about this project, but this is the deck replacement on the Eagle's Nest building here. It's kind of got the pause button put on it when we lost Aaron Nix a couple years ago. But now that we have the new Capital Facilities Division with Public Works, we already had the engineering done, already had the permit in place. We just needed the staff to basically hand the project to so it could move again. For this one, the permit's been renewed. There was slight adjustments to the engineering drawing that have been done. And this one is currently out to public bid right now. They did a walkthrough this past Monday to answer questions. Alex was there and helped answer questions about the project scope, about the facility, about impacts to staff and working here. We had about, I think Alex said we had about 15 different companies there, which is a very good turnout. And that one closes on August 28th. So in another week, we will have bids in and we'll know the general direction of that. And hoping that we can get a contract done quickly and begin work on that before the winter rains set in. And those were the two major things I wanted to draw attention to, but happy to entertain comments or questions about anything else in the report.
Well, I'm glad to see the pros plan was adopted by the commissioners. That's also significant amount of work that staff has been working on for a long time. And I was wondering if, Alex, if you might give us a little bit of an update. I know that the North Gateway parking lot is underway up in Port Gamble. How's that going?
It's going well. Everything's still on track and on time. Yeah, still targeting an opening, complete construction and opening to the public in, my guess is probably early October, late September, if we're lucky. But we'll see.
Great, thank you.
Yep. All right, thanks, Larry.
Okay, well, thank you much, Alex. Okay, subcommittee meetings, visitor services, y'all got together. Anything to say? Anything to tell us?
I will take this one as Nancy and Jessica are both out right now, but I met with them both last Thursday night and we reviewed the event policy stakeholder feedback. So this was all the feedback we collected from surveys that we had sent out to our event groups between 2024 and 2025. And basically we went through the feedback and what action we were taking as a department in updating our policies. And overall, really positive reaction. So at this point, we are waiting on legal to come back with their edits and review of the policies, and then hopefully we can bring those forward to the full PAB here in the coming months.
Okay, I know that it's supposedly on the potential agenda for soon to look at that. So hope that goes well. At this point in my universe, I'm not going to make any hard bets on it though. But
we are doing everything in our power to keep it moving forward. We just
I understand that there's a lot of balls in the air.
Exactly, but we're in a really good place. We're really happy with the policies. Both Nancy and Jessica have been really helpful and positive to work with and have had great recommendations. So hopefully we'll bring those to the board here soon.
All right, cool. And by the way, sidebar note, point of personal preference, tell Scott I will be getting back to him this week about one event.
Okay.
He'll know what I'm talking about.
If it's not this week because of the fair, that's okay. We're busy.
Hey, that's what you get paid the big bucks for. Our volunteer bucks don't go very far.
Yeah, please reach out. We'll help you.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. District representative reports. I mean, I don't have any news that hasn't already been covered underneath the rest of the agenda. Has anybody else got anything? Crickets. Okay. So, public comment. Do we have anybody in the queue who would like to make public comment?
Yes, we do. And Carol Price, I'm allowing you to talk.
Thank you very much. I'm a little distressed, but I'll try and be logical here. I attended 2 of the site meetings and 1 of the public meetings. I've read the forest stewardship document and made extensive notes in it. So I know what's in there. You can have policy that is best available science, but the reality is it comes later in when you actually do thinning, for instance. What does that look like on the ground? And that's what people see, and that's what upsets them. It upset me at Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park, I have to tell you. And it's not the first time I've commented on it. I commented on it a year ago about Ewok. You still see the tracks from that vehicle. It's a heavy, that track vehicle is huge. I'm stunned at the width of the tracks that go through the forest. I didn't find that the thinning that Kevin showed us up there across from the new Gateway parking lot it disturbed me very much. They've covered the ground with the debris from the trees. But I know what those tracks are like, and I know how heavy that piece of equipment is. I also know that Arno Bergstrom has used different kinds of equipment that didn't leave that impact. And I know it's controversial. I guess it's hard for the public to witness this and be told it will be beautiful someday. And that takes a long time sometimes. So I just say, there were 2,000 signatures on change.org against the thinning at Banner Forest. I didn't sign because I found the language to be inflammatory, but I didn't necessarily disagree with everything that they said. You need to talk to people about the equipment. There really does need to be more information. For me, I don't think a fact sheet is going to cut it. I want to just be able to talk to someone about and ask real questions like we were able to ask Arno Bergstrom. We could ask him questions and he would answer them. I don't know how to get the point across, but what informs the public's opinion is what's left after you thin the forest. And I certainly would not consider that U.S. Forest Service standards to be a very high bar for forestry. I'm sorry, it's not. It's status quo forestry, and it's pretty damned obnoxious and destructive. Okay, sorry. I just had to unload. You guys you have a certain view, but I don't know if there's anybody else that's going to make comment, but I'm a little disturbed that the public isn't here listening and making comment and being involved. And I urge you to reach out to us. Thanks.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, do we have anybody else?
There are no other hands raised for public comment.
All righty. So, let's see. I'm going to backtrack to district representatives. Just for y'all's clarification and everything, I have been in correspondence with Frank Strickland about some of the churn and going on up in Newberry, and when his schedule and my schedule settle down just a skosh, we are going to be sitting down together and chatting about this stuff and trying to come up with some sort of proposals to make life better. So on that note, I only have one thing left on my agenda, and that's this word called adjournment.
I'm not quite there yet. I had one more question about the north area. Quiet Place. Is it true that there's going to be a road being put through Quiet Place? I've been hearing comments about that, and there's a lot of concern. So people want to know what can be done about that.
There is a neighbor who has asked for an easement access to his property through the park. And it is not something that we would acquiesce to unless we were bound by the law to do it. So I don't have a definitive answer at this point, but I will be sure to bring back to you what I learn once we have some guidance.
But you won't do anything unless you're bound by law, so probably not.
Well, I hope so,
Yeah,
but
good.
that's
Okay.
not a guarantee. But
Uh,
yeah.
all right. Thank you. Okay, Larry, show's yours.
Why, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. By the way, thanks for bringing that up because that did give me a little bit of pause when you said that. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, thank you, Dawn. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Linda. You out on your whirlwind vacation. Enjoy your time. All right, so all in favor, please raise your hand. All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much. Don't forget that next month we will be putting together a nominating committee for chair and vice chair. And so the either good or bad news for y'all is my reign of terror is coming to an end and the bylaws say I can't do it for a while. So keep an eye, keep thinking about who would like to be on the committee and also who would like to have the job. It pays well, right, Alex?
Pays the best.
Absolutely. So we will see y'all next month.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks all.
Mhm.